Commissioner Gower.
Here.
Commissioner Rosales.
Here.
Judge Shaw's here. Commissioner Schindel.
Here.
Commissioner Hummel will not be here. Carol Susie from the County Clerk's Office. Here. Okay, we're just here today more for informational purposes, but we posted this as a meeting just in case we had a quorum or anybody asked any questions. And what we have today is the discussion and presentation of the TxDOT tour and update of conditions in conjunction with ACOG. And Joe Ramos asked us to put that on there to do his TxDOT tour. Go ahead, Joe. Joe's with ACOG, in case you guys don't know. I'm sorry, I'm used to him. But I expect everybody else to be.
I don't bite, okay? Judge Shaw, Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. And just to explain to the Commissioners a little bit, Karnes County is in the ACOG region. However, you're in the Corpus Christi TxDOT engineer office. Yesterday we were in McMullen County, who's in the Coastal Bend COG territory, but they're in the San Antonio TxDOT engineering area. So Karnes County being a member of ACOG, under ACOG we also have an organization that's called the Alamo Area Rural Planning Organization, and TxDOT is a member of that as well. And so part of that discussion was that we would coordinate meetings with all the 11 rural counties in our COG area and bring TxDOT out to give you an update on where they are on current projects, and then also to get some input from you as they develop the next 4-year plan. So there's a whole lot of people here from TxDOT. I'm going to just bring up Clayton Rips, and he'll do the presentation, and he'll also introduce the TxDOT staff. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm Clayton Rips. I'm the Advanced Planning Director at the San Antonio District. Basically today with us we have Darcy Shipwell. She's with the South Region, TxDOT South Region, which encompasses all of this area starting from kind of Austin down to the valley. And so she's from the region office, deals with the MPOs
and the RPOs.
And the RPOs. So she's kind of intertwined and intermixed and very knowledgeable of both organizations and how they kind of mix with each other. Also from the office of San Antonio, I brought Aaron Juke. He works in the planning section. And then locally we have
Danny Kelly. I'm with the Karnes City area office.
Tomas Trevino, Dallas area engineer.
Okay, and so I'm just going to go kind of through, we'll flip through kind of a little presentation, and then at the end, if you have any questions about, well, stop me in the middle, and I'll do the best I can to kind of answer your questions. If it's more of a local type issue, you know, I'll depend on them to kind of pick up and kind of fill those gaps in, because usually that's kind of, you know, as we've gone on this road tour, you know, that's kind of what, you know, the way we kind of handle it. So we'll kind of flip through. First sheet, TxDOT road tour, kind of why we're here. We'll just kind of go through and discuss what's going on. So as of right now, if you go to the second sheet, project collector to be completed. I'll just cover kind of the bigger ones briefly. State Highway 123 from FM 3191 to Wilson County line. That was a middle inlay with overlay. US 181 at FM 81 and 181 at 887, adding the turn lane with an overlay. State Highway 80 from 181 to 123. And then you have some turn lanes from 123 at 791, and then down at the bottom, 791 widened with overlay. So those are projects that have either been completed in the past year or so, or that have recently led, that are fixing to be under construction, or maybe under construction right now. And then continue on the next sheet are some additional projects that are kind of in the same situation. You have some rehabs on 81, 1535, and then down below you have base repair and seal coat, and kind of a list of projects that are out there as well. And then kind of on the next sheet is traffic signals, and you can see there's a list of traffic signals that are going to let, have just let, or under construction, or are being completed in the past year or so. And now we move on to this Eagle Ford shell and the activities. You can see on that map kind of the concentration and the legend that shows the number of well permits, you know, highlighted and you know, pointed out in the blue. The lighter blue is what's scheduled oil, and the red is what's gas. And we kind of highlighted roughly in Karnes County of the concentration that you'll have, just to kind of put it in perspective. And I'm not here to talk about much about the shell, because you guys are dealing with it a lot more hands-on. There's just a couple pictures that we had in the area, and you can see the trucks, you can see kind of the damage and one of the shoulders, it's kind of fluffed off.
Now, are these all Karnes County roads that you have pictures of?
The-
Cars, damage?
I don't believe so.
No,
They're
no,
just
these-
general pictures of the Eagle Ford show.
Just very unfortunate. These are all,
I mean, they all look like this, so it's kind of hard to tell.
yeah, you're not alone. These were actually, I believe, in McMullen. And you can see the one where the shoulder's fluffed off, and the other one with the alligator cracking and the base failures. And kind of an example of what, we're aware there's you're dealing with a lot and everything that's going on, and then like we have that next slide, impacts to the system. They're just kind of what they found through some preliminary research already, and they determined that service life on interstate, U.S., state highway, and FM highways is reduced on average due to the truck traffic associated with natural gas well operations by 30% reduction, and crude oil operations 16% on the service life. So we know, and there's research being done just to kind of figure out exactly what's going on. Now I know legislature right now, they've got kind of a subcommittee that they're looking at specifically for Eagle Ford Shale and the energy aspect of it statewide. But I know there was a sector, a committee at least looking at it for this region. And so we're anticipating, just within San Antonio district, and I'm sure Corpus is as well, to getting some money for this, specifically for these projects. And it's one of those things that we can kind of look to hopefully get some support in some way. We don't know if it's going to be a separate pot of money or if they're going to cut back out of the legislature on some other programs, but they're going to have to find and identify some type of funding specifically for this region. The next one is the truck average annual daily traffic percentage, and all this is kind of a snippet that shows. You can see the blue, the truck percentage 0 to 5%, the green, and it kind of goes all the way down to red, where the more than 20% of the average annual daily traffic is trucks over 20%, and it can be kind of misleading because of course the more rural the roadway, you can only have 100 vehicles a day, and you've got 20 trucks that go down it one day, that bumps up your percentage. So, but you can kind of see the percentage of trucks and where they hit. The next one are the narrow roadways. This is something that we always keep an eye on, especially kind of the outlying areas as far as getting that roadway to where you have sufficient shoulders. And so a roadway that's under 27 feet is kind of showing up on that map in the red, and in the green is something that's 28 feet or wider. And so that's something we're always cognizant of, is improving those shoulders and providing that safe refuge area. And so anytime you see like projects that are programmed for wide narrow roadway or add shoulders, that's kind of where they fall in. The next one is the pavement condition. And keep in mind, this is like it's just a snapshot of our database that shows the pavement scores at one point in time. So some of these may be better, they may be worse than when this snapshot was taken. I do not know when this was actually set up or when they actually grabbed it, but some of these roadways may be better than this or they may be worse. But you can see from it, all the blue is great. As you go down green, you're going down, your condition score is dropping, and when you get down to the red, you're basically almost on the verge of just grading it every day. And then the last slide is showing kind of the projects. Each color represents the physical year, which is September through August of each year, kind of the projects that we're looking at in the next 4 years. Okay, so moving forward, I guess for the next 4-year plan, we move to the PL 13 projects. And so on this list, there's State Highway 123, cement treating the roadway and overlay. You have Cibolo Creek Bridge on FM 2724, replacing the bridge. State Highway 72, and that one's a seal coat pavement markings. State Highway 123, from the Cibolo Creek Bridge to the north of State Highway 80, and that one's a seal coat pavement markings. 181 at 887 and at 81, you have intersection improvements plan. 181 is from Business 181 to the county line, construct passing lanes. So that's PL 13 is continued on the next sheet. FM 1353, and that one's actually a widened roadway and some edge repair. FM 2102, widening the roadway with edge repair. FM 791, seal coat pavement markings. There's FM 2102, that one has a partial rehab and widening the seal coat associated with it. And then FM 882, edge repair. Then we move on to the following year, plan year 2014. And again, we have similar to State Highway 72, Cement Street roadway and overlay, State Highway 80 overlay, State Highway 239 rehab, FM 743 widened roadway, FM 3191 seal coat with pavement markings. And then outside of 2014, kind of the remaining projects that are out there, State Highway 123 on the Wilson County line, State Highway 80 widened roadway with 5 passing lanes, FM 99 from 181 to Business 181D rehab, and there's FM 1020 at Agua Creek Bridge, replace bridge, and 1020 at Yates Creek, replace bridge and approaches. And continuing these projects, a couple more widenings on US 181. Have a rehab on FM 791. State Highway 239, widened roadway, and base repairs on 2102 and State Highway 72. Kind of finishing off the main projects, we have rehab and widening, FM 626, FM 1353, and FM 81. And then there's a list of seal coat projects with pavement markings below that. FM 885, FM 1020, FM 2443, and FM 2985. And that's basically in a nutshell. I didn't go into great detail with each of these, but that's basically something that you have to where you can look at to see what's kind of going on, gives you kind of a glimpse. Now last is any additional project needs or comments or questions, now's the time where we can try to see what we can do to field your questions and kind of put in, for any other additional needs that are necessary in the county. So I'll open it up.
The only one I got is, I kept looking through there, but there's nothing about FM 627. It is horrible. All the way crossing 80, all the way back across, back to
Tomas and I, we just rode that, we were on the road yesterday. And some of these projects are in our 4-year maintenance plan. And we try to project out 4 years in advance, which here lately has been difficult to do in this county because, you made a priority that was in that 4-year plan, and now it's not the worst road by any means.
Right.
When we internally looked at our 2013 roadways, we added 627. We had our own meeting, a week ago about, and we added 627. There was also a section of FM 81. And I told Tomas, I said, I think we need to move this 627 ahead of the FM 81 project.
I kind of agree with you.
And what we've tried to do on a lot of these roads, we used to could go in there and rehab the whole roadway, widen and rehab the whole roadway, but it takes so many dollars to do it that way. So we've tried to go in there and look at what's the safety issue with it, and it's the drop-offs. When you meet a big truck, you've got to drop one wheel off. And so we've gone in there now where we actually go into the existing pavement maybe 3 or 4 feet, and we, take that material out, and we do widen it to 28 feet. So we take care of those edge drop-offs, and you do get the widening, where you've got a full 12-foot lane and a 2-foot shoulder.
And the reason I said something is because I know that several 18-wheelers have turned over out there, so on 627.
And we've
It
had
could be a hazard if they're full of oil.
And we've had numerous complaints,
Yeah, I'm sure you have, because
Yeah.
they call me and say, well, I just give you your number.
Right.
That's all I can do, I don't know what else to do, I said, it's text dog, I don't have nothing to do with
And,
that.
you know, and sometime a temporary fix is our maintenance will go out there and pull dirt up to the edge of pavement. Well, all it takes is a little rainfall and a truck to drop off, and they just
Yes.
squirt it right out.
Right.
So it's not a permanent fix by any means.
Right,
Um,
well, whatever y'all can do, we do appreciate it.
No, it's on our radar, and when we first talked about it, you know, with the maintenance supervisor, he said, Danny, I just think, you know, the rest of the road is maybe in too bad a shape to not have to rehab the whole thing, and when Tomas and I drove it, I said, I think we could do that edge repair type contract. Doesn't mean that maintenance won't still have to go out there some, but you're addressing kind of the immediate safety need.
Right.
And that's, I know y'all probably saw in there FM 1353, that goes from 181 out to 2102.
Right.
We, probably a year or so ago, we put a thin overlay on it, so the road's in pretty good shape, but you've got the drop-offs, it's an 18-foot roadway, you've got a 9-foot lane. So we intend to, let it contract in January to do that type of fix. We just started one on FM 2102 to do that very thing, and same problem. So those are the types of projects, and those are usually just our strictly state money, our routine maintenance money, which district-wide, it gets spread, fairly thin. I know our new district engineer, Lonnie Gregorczyk, he's, slowly trying to bring more funds up to this area, but, it takes time to do that. You can't just say, we're gonna pull all the money and bring it up here, because those other counties in our district, they have to have some.
Yeah, everybody needs repairs,
Yes.
I think-
maintenance anyway.
I think what the deal is with 1353 is nobody ever expected to happen what happened on 2102 and everybody used. And that 18-foot road, those 18-wheelers, they won't give up the pavement. I mean, it's not that you go off the road, they could push, they'll
Right,
push
you
you
get pushed
completely
off.
off the road, because they will not
Yes.
give up any pavement area.
Well, if there's drop-offs there, that you just wanna slow down and get off the road, because you don't want them to drop off, because they're gonna turn over. And that's why they hog that road.
Right.
And the more that they hit them drop-offs, the more breaks off, the bigger the holes get.
I mean, but there's a little city out on 2102.
Yes, yes.
Nice little city too.
All we do is trump.
So, like I said, we're trying to address some of those needs. Can we go in and build some of these roads like they need to be built? No.
No, you just patch away,
Right.
keep
We're-
up with it until
We're really
this,
kind of putting Band-Aids,
this
on
fall
these
boom
roadways.
slows down some, then
Right.
maybe we can get back to the way it used to be. But right now, we just gotta put a Band-Aid on it.
And we're also trying to do some safety stuff with the signals. Everybody's
Right.
aware of all the signals going up.
That's a good improvement.
Yes, I agree. It's gonna slow the traffic down on 181. We reduced the speed limit on 181. We're gonna do those intersection improvements. May not have caught the roadways. It's on 181 and 887 in Fall City. Both legs of 887, as it goes out, you'll have a left turn bay. And then also at the FM 81's intersections in Hobson. I know that's been kind of a safety thing in Hobson for some time, so you'll have the left turn lanes there. And those actually let tomorrow, so we'll know who our contractor is at.
I know over at Rungy on intersection right downtown, 72 and 81, I don't know how many times they put up stop signs there, but they keep running over on the turns. And last time they knocked the electric pole out, so I think the electric company got tired of putting a new pole there. They just stretched the wire a little tighter. Give up on them.
One project too that is not in Karnes County, but it probably affects all of us at some point that we drive it, is State Highway 72 in B County, which is through Pawnee. We're gonna rehab the pavement, but we're gonna add some passing lanes in there.
That's good.
So you're gonna have some passing opportunities, because if any of you have driven that roadway,
It's
you can't
tough.
really pass anymore. And, we do have a project in Karnes County, not merely the funds that we're putting in B County. Because I guess this last fiscal year, the state appropriate, or not, well, I guess the text dot came up with $40 million statewide for not just Eagleford, but energy sector roadway projects, and we got like $10 million, in the Corpus district. And so these intersection improvements in Fall City and Hobson, that's coming out of that, and then a chunk of it went to that 72. We realized on 72, that was like a major corridor for this Eagleford traffic, because it just kind of parallels the play. And so we're kind of hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, maybe what Clayton said, if there are some additional funds that we could add that to our current funding for the Karnes 72 and do some passing lanes, I'd like to do. But, we don't have the funds to do that right now.
Right.
We're doing those between Kennedy and Beeville, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's gonna be a major improvement there. And sometimes you may get on one of those and think, well, why did they have a skip in here and not have a passing lane? Well, we try to avoid bridges, some of the small communities on 181, like Toledo, Tulsita, Normanna. So we try to avoid those areas, because then you're impacting access and all that. And, so we try to pick locations where it makes sense and it costs less to do.
And that's on 72.
Well, the passing lanes, we're gonna have a set on 181 south of Kennedy,
Okay.
and then the passing lanes on 72 will be in actually B County.
But headed west
Well,
towards 37.
they've actually, in Live Oak County, they have a project to do some passing lanes, right?
Right, but that's on the other side of 281. That's from
Okay.
McMullen to Three Rivers.
Okay.
There's a passing lane job there as well. And
Oh, yeah.
then we have another job on 72 between 281 and 37 to add a continuous left turn lane for that little stretch between Three Rivers and the interstate. And then afford some right turn lanes as well. So
Okay.
We
Yeah,
don't,
when
we
we were
don't
out-
have any money appropriated in Live Oak County between 37 and B County line. And like Danny mentioned, that the portion we do have appropriated for Karnes County, it's not enough to add passing lanes, but we will probably just be doing some travel lane base repairs. The travel lanes are pretty worn out.
And I always tell people that do call, if you see a bad area, a bad pothole, call us. We need to know about it. Our maintenance guys try to ride these roads at least once a week. But sometimes it can be overnight, over the weekend, that a road will be in decent shape and just, go downhill. So, and typically, if we get that call, we're gonna go out and check it out. And sometimes, it may be like, well, this is not as bad as what I know is going on over here. So we just have to try to prioritize over the whole county, what's gonna get fixed first.
And we do solicit your input and appreciate your comment there on 617.
Yes, well, I had a call from a lady, and I listened to her for about 30 minutes on the phone, and she said how horrible it was, and who do I contact? I said, well, it's the FM road, so it's text dot, but I'm sure that they're busy everywhere. And I said, you can call them and tell them what you think, but they'll get there as soon as they can, I'm sure. I try to smooth it over as good as I could.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Because she was worried about her kids and stuff, traveling that road back and forth to school
Right.
and what have you. And she's got her points,
I know Barbara fielded some calls for us as well.
We don't want anybody to get hurt.
Right. We're gonna finally get to replace our Cibolo Creek Bridge, FM 2724 north of Mount Maria. We're gonna get started with that as soon as possible. We've been told by the contractor that they need time to fabricate the concrete beams. So, it may not get started as early as we would have liked it to, but, there's no need getting out there and doing it and then not, you're sitting there.
Right. You don't
The
have
contractor
everything
is
ready.
mobilized and then he can't finish the job because he's waiting on the beams to be built, so.
You gonna have to shut down the road, or?
It's actually shut down right
Right
now,
now.
it's been shut down, and that's not been real popular.
No, I've heard something about it.
Yeah. And actually, if everybody doesn't know, there was actually a column that was just, the debris, the logs would just get so jammed up underneath this bridge that I guess just finally over time, the pressure of the water, it just kicked out one of our steel, columns into there. And so, luckily one of our maintenance guys, he noticed it, and we had to shut the bridge down at that point. And then we had a really bad time just trying to put something up that people would run through and continue to drive over the bridge.
Right.
Yes, it's gonna be a lot larger bridge, longer, taller, will not go underwater. Hopefully hardly ever, unless we get a 100-year flood or something, but, that bridge has been a maintenance kind of headache for us. Because every little rise, it would catch all those logs, just jam up on them.
So you're gonna make it taller, they'll pass a little
Yes,
easier?
yes, we will not have any columns in the middle of the stream like you have now, so everything pretty much should
That'll be
go
better.
away.
What's gonna be the span on over 100 feet?
Yeah, I think that middle span is at least 100, it may be 110 even. I don't know exactly, but it's at least 100 feet,
That's gonna be good.
yeah. Might take away some people's fishing hole.
I'm sure they'll manage to get down there.
Yeah.
Are we getting any more money from the federal government since it's a US Highway 181? No additional money? And another question I had, since they completed 130 and it comes to Seguin, how many trucks are gonna get off of Seguin and come down 123 to keep them going through San Antonio and head on for the valley? We're gonna have a lot more traffic on 123 than just our Eagle Ford Shell.
Well, there's a project that they're working on to put some passing lanes on that southern portion of 123 and some rehabilitation. The other thing that's in the works right now is to try to provide more of a bypass for the trucks from downtown San Antonio to try to route them on 410 on the south side of San Antonio, because it's kind of a section that's a little bit more underutilized. But they're working on trying to get a signing layout to where if you're on 35 coming up from Laredo, signing it to 130 to get on 410 and kind of bypass the southern portion of San Antonio to go that way. So, hopefully that will attract more of them once they become more familiar with it. It's just a matter of, once they evaluate 130 and see the effectiveness of pulling the trucks or on 130 instead of taking off of 35, we don't know. It won't be, it may take some time before they can actually see what the effects, of that will be. But yeah, it's a good and valid point.
I always
But
kind of agreed with you when they talked about building that 130 and the effect of it on, 123 in Karnes County. It'll be interesting to see if that does occur. We already get a pretty good, amount of people that are going down to the coast, from Boston area, coming down 123.
Yeah.
And it may be more inviting now to do that.
It might, because they use 123 as a cut across to I-10 anyway. We did some passing lane jobs on 87, and it was unbelievable the amount of trucks are ready.
But y'all got some passing lane projects that are maybe not have started, but in Guadalupe County and
Yes, there's
Seguin.
yes, there's one on 123. There's one on US 87, basically out to Nixon, and we're working on one on 97. That one actually is funded, so we're trying to get 97 as in the Floresville, kind of headed towards the west.
Yeah, that shoulder from Seguin to Stockdale is a lot narrower than the shoulder from Stockdale to Karnes City.
You're right. It's an 8-foot there, and then it narrows down to the 4-foot. We're trying to avoid the 4-foot shoulders because we've kind of discovered that it's not really a good refuge area. It's not an area where you can pull over and someone can kind of pass you. We're trying to provide an 8-foot shoulder. Even where we put the passing lanes, we're trying to meet that upper end of the desirable design criteria. Just because that we realize that the 4-foot shoulder, it's difficult to do. But there's some roadways that are 18, 19 foot now, and that's really all you have room to go to. If you only have 76 foot of right of way, it's a tough squeeze, to kind of get it in there. But like 72, it's interesting they're going to put passing lanes on that section, because when we were driving through and out in McMullen County yesterday, they want us to look at passing lanes from 16 out to 99 and then to the Callahan. You know, we drove that stretch through Three Rivers and coming back towards 37. They've got some challenges in their own right.
But Wes, yesterday, there was people from the congressman's office here and the congressman was here, and they did meet with TxDOT. And I know that they did, Danny and them did do a tour with him and showed him where the bad spots were, and they, I mean, we all ask for money. I mean, they don't, I mean, we do more than, I mean, TxDOT can't, but I always ask for it.
Right.
And
I'm not proud.
we should be getting more money from the federal government too with the more transportation, because our sales tax and gas tax is quite a bit higher than it used to be. So some of that tax goes to the federal government, and they're supposed to redistribute it instead of keeping it in Washington.
Yeah, well, that's.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, you know.
We like that.
And, you know, and even our gas tax that goes to the state, you know, yes, ours has increased here locally, but it gets thrown into the state, you know, the state highway fund. And so it's not a direct, oh, okay, Karnes is gonna get this much more back. And I think, like Clayton said, I think we've gotten the attention of folks in Austin, you know, our state politicians, our TxDOT, Austin administration. I mean, they've personally been down. Some of our commission members have actually come down and driven some of these roads as well. So, you know, I think it'll definitely, you know, be presented to the legislature. You know, we can't force them to provide more funding, but, you know, I think the word's definitely gotten out.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is be proactive and let them hear you. You know that there's a need, and you know the more they hear that, you know, and obviously having an actual congressman come and see it for themselves helps as well. But yeah, the more vocal you can be about what's going on.
There's a group
the
of 7 or 8
impacts.
of us that spend a lot of time in Austin, their county judges, trying to get some money back.
Good.
Because that TxDOT thing, and the key word, you know, is misappropriation of funds. Because where's that money going? It says, you know, gas tax goes to TxDOT. Yeah, that's what we read, but does that really goes? No.
Yeah. If you look at it, there's a diversion. Like, you know, the state, what the state collects, it ends up like you had mentioned. But there's a diversion from it. You know, you got DPS, education comes out a big chunk of it, and then the federal dollars. You know, we're a donor state, so whatever goes to Austin, you know, we're funding North Dakota and Montana's, you know, roadways.
We never get back dollar for dollar what we put into the feds. You know.
Yeah, for every dollar we
We
get,
pay
I think
more
we get like
taxes.
60 cents. We get 60 cents or something like that. It's
Yeah.
60% of what we ship in.
I like y'all's idea, Barbara, of trying to get some of the severance tax, you know,
We're really up there working on that because it's just such a large amount that we pay in. You know, we got back $80,000 in, well, I think you were there that day, I said it, we got back
Right.
$80,000 in axle fees. And I mean, out of millions and millions of dollars. And, I mean, they're statistics you can pull up on the internet, they're just time consuming, and nobody really sits down and tries to do that. Because, you know, the government's good about making it hard to find. And we sit down and we figured all those out. And I think it was myself, Fowler Till, and, Huff, and P went with me, because I mean, our numbers are remarkable. And I mean, what we got back was such a tiny, tiny percentage, and we were like, wow, why even wasting the paper and send that check back?
And, you know, and I know this statistic is thrown around, but one truck is the equivalent of, you know, they say about 9,000, you know, regular vehicles, so, you know, every truck that you see is just doing, you know,
That much more damage.
But I have to tell you, the Texas Association of Counties has been with us, the general counsel's working with us, Jim Allison, Allison Bass and Associates, and they are doing a tremendous job about really working us around the Capitol and taking heat, because I don't think anybody's real glad to see us, but everybody's listening, and,
right.
yes, sir?
If I can add also, just recently, Senator Zaffarini out of Laredo announced she's forming an Eagle Ford Shell caucus. So I would encourage you to talk to your state rep and your state senator, I don't know if she covers this area or not, to join that Eagle Ford Shell caucus, because that's going to be key to really get to the power leaders in Austin to get the message across. And then, as you said, working with your state association and with TML and the COGS, make sure we're all on the same page, asking for the same thing. I think it's going to be a long shot we got to remember, we're not the only Shell in Texas.
That's right.
So there's other parts of Texas that are clamoring for money just as we are down here. So you know, it's going to be a a long shot to expect the state to give money back to each county individually. And I think what we need to look at is at least designate some money to come back, even if it's through TxDOT, for roads just in the shell areas, apart from their normal maintenance and operations budgets.
That's our big fight on the severance
Yeah,
tax.
exactly. So again, just to make sure all of us are on the same page, but I would encourage you to encourage your state reps to join that caucus. And then right before the legislature starts on Jan 8th, there's gonna be a summit there in Austin with this Eagle Ford Shell caucus to kind of start the process for the legislature to announce to the rest of the legislators that this is gonna be a key fight for this coming session.
We've been pretty loud about it, so.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything?
If we get additional money designated for Karnes County, do you have some specific projects? You know, you said 72 was the main one you need to get done. Would that be advanced or what? How
I
would you-
think, yes, I think, that would definitely be a priority, would be to try to continue those passing lanes and probably do more than the rehab that we would be able to do, really kind of try to fix the pavement in a more permanent manner. And there would be some more of the FM roads. I do know that some of our US highways and our state highways, which, we really almost have to keep in pretty good shape. If we don't start looking at those, we're gonna start losing those roadways, and I think, we have to look at some of those roadways and try to do some preventative maintenance, to try to keep them from getting in the shape of some of these FM roads. But, we definitely have the needs there. I don't have a specific, if we got an extra 5 million or 10 million, where that would specifically go, but, we can definitely spend it.
Yeah, and like, the other thing is kind of take a different mode of thinking, and it's easy right now to kind of, when you piecemeal $1 million, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you start taking $5 million and trying to rehab a roadway, you're only looking at a couple miles. So you're thinking, what you have to start adjusting and tuning to is, on the $100 million, we need $120 million. I mean, it sounds outrageous, but that's not that far-fetched from what you actually truly will need to bring these up. And I guess the approach kind of San Antonio has taken is, we're banking on something. We know something has to be done, and so we're already jumping in and identifying all these projects in the Eagle Ford Shale area and saying, look, we need these. Here's rehabs, and we've identified them, and we're kind of trying to rank them to where, our needs, I think, where our list is, up to $140 million. But say they come out and they divvy out 80 million, we're gonna have it's ready to go by March. So, they'll be on the shelf, and if this money becomes available from the legislative session starting, I guess, January, February, that the soonest they'd be available for the funding would be July, August of this next fiscal year. So if we have them ready, they'll be there. We may be spinning our wheels, but we're at least trying to say, hey, we have a plan. That's the thing. When you start establishing that you have a plan and this is what our true needs are, because otherwise you're going to end up, over time, that road, you're just going to go out there and run the motor grader over it every morning and every evening, and you don't want to get to that point. FM 99 got that way, and this, I don't know if anybody's been out there, but it went to nothing. There was nothing left. We just kept band-aiding it, and so we got to the point that no, we need $12 million to fix this, otherwise or not.
All of 99 got that way.
It's pretty amazing.
Goes Live Oak. He did a project in Live Oak. We did kind of a band-aid.
Back and forth to a funeral.
Thank you.
But it was a major.
Yeah, that was kind of the route. 72 is kind of their cut through. You can kind of see, the routes, and it's more of a regional area,
99 and 72 both run parallel.
Yeah, and so that's kind of key for them moving their materials and supplies back and forth. So, but yeah, for the commissioner, is it Hummel? If he has any comments or anything, I'll give you my email address, so he can email it to me. It's Clayton, ClayTon, period, RIPS, RIPPS, @texdot.gov.
Well, I have to tell you, these guys here, they work with us great. Anytime we have problems because it's hard on Jeff, it's hard on them. You fix a road, the next day that road is, there's a Kins 5, I think I showed it to you, Joe. And we had a Kins 5, we have a summer Christmas in Karnes County where you go down this road and there's just, it looks like snow. Just caliche all over everything. Jeff went out there and fixed the road, and 3 days later they were calling, they were gonna go out and start working on it themselves again, and we can't keep up. It's impossible. Mhm.
Yeah. the
So
county
we're struggling,
roads-
we're all struggling.
Yeah, the county roads, that's a whole, that's a big challenge too.
Well, they help put material on them and stuff like that, but then they run them double hard, and then we don't have the manpower or anything to come behind them. And once they're done, the roads are torn back to where they were, and what do you do? I guess we ask them to help us, and they do. We can't complain about that, because they have donated quite a bit of
Right.
material. But it's all blown away now. We need more now.
Have y'all been approached as far as like any type of designated truck routes or any roads that any of the energy companies have come and said, hey, we'd like to bypass, we don't want to have to go through and make this, connection, but we're on this ranch and so many acres, and if we can make this connection, and if we build it, maintain it for 20 years, we'll turn it over to the county. Have they
They have.
nothing like that has occurred out here yet?
Not in my area, no.
We've designated some, like the Karnes City here, we established a truck route, with them as far as just moving, not having trucks go through downtown.
Right.
And doing that, that's just really signing using the existing routes. And, because there was a lot of complaints about that. You have these belly dumps, these trains of belly dumps
Yeah,
just
they-
going right downtown.
They did that same thing in Kennedy too. They
Yes.
were coming through, but now they make them go around.
Yes, and they started writing
Those
some
18
tickets and the word
wheelers
got
coming
out really
down now.
quick.
Yeah, they're looking at just south of Pleasanton. They're doing that, and it's
Uh-huh.
the
Yes,
county's
they are. Mhm.
the county's kind of trying to steer them that way, and there's a lot of hurdles to jump through. But if they can get, I think it would kind of relieve 97, connecting Pleasanton and Jordanton. But that's one of the first ones. There's a county road also off of 16.
Franklin Ranch Road.
Franklin, yeah, where the oil companies are supporting, I think the county's maybe paying the engineer, he may know the specifics of it, but I know the county's paying for like the engineering and design, but I don't know as far as construction wise, but that's a pretty good route that the companies want to have from State Highway 16. I guess it connects to 281.
One of the commissioners over there went and probably was a big play in that. That was
Yeah.
his precinct, and he really worked to get that done, because Judge Bautista told us about it.
Yeah, Commissioner Carroll.
Is that who it was?
One thing you might start, one other tool that we have is, we call them donation agreements. It's, where a company, they're gonna have an impact on a roadway, whether it be from a traffic standpoint, mainly a safety. We're gonna be doing one on FM 81. There, the Coke pipeline has kind of a terminal facility where trucks are in and out, offloading their material, goes into a pipeline. But we requested that they make improvements to the roadway, like providing turn lanes for all the trucks and actually beefing up the pavement. Now, it's not gonna go the whole distance, it's just where they're making that impact. But, in that particular situation, it's like $2.6 million that, is actually getting donated to the state. They're doing the design, which they've done, and they will do the construction as well. So that is a way that finally the state has kind of been able to say, okay, we'll accept this donation. It has to get approved by our commission. Another thing, they're really wanting a plant entrance signs that have the yellow flashing lights, they won't be overhead, but on the side, or a truck crossing. And, we've been pretty much told, that'll also be a donation agreement to do those. So you may start seeing those kind of proliferate, around the county.
You I guess Jeff must have went to some kind of conference or something not long ago, but people were calling me for his phone number because they said he's gotten more money than anybody out of the shell. He's gotten more money in donations, he's gotten more money than that Jeff is, I guess, not minding to ask about
Right.
ConocoPhillips. And I don't know if he's doing a donation form or if they're just choosing to write off whatever they feel like. I know we had talked to him one time about kind of keep track of that, but Jeff kind of won that one.
That's good.
Because they called and they asked what he was doing, and I said, I don't know, but this is his phone number.
And you know, we never could just really ask for the funds. I mean, we were kind of doing it under the guise of, you know, if you want your driveway permit, you know, we need these improvements done. And they kind of started looking at it and saying, well, that's not really right. But, you know, it's a much more elaborate agreement to do this, but, you know, but we can get some improvements, because, I mean, they're the ones that are creating the impact, and so I think it's only fair that they, you know, they help.
I think, and you probably know this firsthand, I mean, these companies are wanting to help. They got the money, of course, but they just want to make sure, instead of just throwing money out piecemeal here and there, that there's some plan behind who's going to use that money, and they want to make sure that their problems are getting taken care of rather than their competitors. So that's kind of one of the issues. Now, just recently also, the big oil and gas companies like Marathon and ConocoPhillips have formed an association similar to ANGA. It's called STEER.
Oh, yeah, the STEER.
And they're just not getting started, but that's going to be another key contact to have for the county. So, and there's 10 big oil and gas companies that are members to that organization. The executive director is a guy named Omar Garcia, who lives in Livonia, so he's close by. So and we're meeting with him tomorrow, but once he gets rolling, we'll bring him out here to meet you.
We met him out at Marathon.
Or did you meet him already? Okay, so that's going to be another good source to sort of talk to one person that's going to represent all 10
He
companies.
wants to meet Jeff. That's
Yeah.
going to be his, when he does his comeback tour, he wants to go.
Okay, very good.
He's talked to us about that.
Well, a lot of the things you find out with the oil companies in the area that are in the area, they don't want no negative
Right.
towards them.
Exactly.
They want a positive, they want to work with the neighbors, they want to be neighborly. And once you start talking to them, you can't get aggressive with them, you got to work with them. And you get a lot more by just talking. And that's where we've been scoring pretty good with.
You know, Danny, before it slips my mind, that light, I know we were talking about the light, that
Which
little,
one?
181 in Walmart,
Yes.
that little island that's right there at Walmart, I've been getting numerous phone calls lately about trucks just coming down the middle of that median and trying to take a left into Sam Hemby's.
They cross over that median.
Well, and they sit on it, you know?
They get
I
up
wonder
on
how that's
board.
gonna impact
Yeah,
them. That
we-
might,
And we've seen that too, you know, unless you just put something that's,
Spikes on the road.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to.
Unless
it's hard
the
to
highway
get
patrol
something,
is in the
especially
right
big
spot at the
trucks.
right time, you know.
I worry about that with that light coming on.
Yeah, you know, even when they built that motel there, which used to be Sam Hemby's, that, what was it called?
Southern Inn.
Yes, Southern Inn. You know, we told them, we said, look, it's gonna be hard for, I think it was northbound traffic, you know, to be able to cut across, because where their driveway was, they'd have to cut across. Well, you know, we'll figure it out.
They need to go on up to the Exxon and make a U-turn just like you're supposed to do, like the rules say.
But yeah, they get right there, and then the other day, it was everybody's honking horns, and like, whoa.
And it's not just 18-wheelers that do that, it's local traffic that does it too. Mr. Hemby's one of the best ones.
Each one, he did it. I know it.
You know, I've never seen just a car doing it, I guess I don't pay attention, but when there's that big truck sitting there,
What they
you're like,
really
"Whoa."
have to do is just, you know, continue to go north and then, you know, turn
Good for
around
you.
with the paved median and then come back, but it's hard, you know, we're working on the driveways there for the new stripes that's gonna go in up there, and we wanna restrict some turning, you know, on some of the driveways, make it like a ride in and a ride out only. But, you know, you can put a raised island in there to try to make them do that, but if they really wanna go the other direction, they're gonna go.
It's gonna have to be raised enough to cause some damage.
Well, and that's what some places where they put these raised medians, you know, like in Victoria, I mean, that was like a 9-inch, it was taking out oil pans and they got to mess it real quick.
I think that Stripes anticipates moving rapidly.
Yes, he's been pretty aggressive trying to get.
He's been here.
His driveway permits.
Mhm.
When are the lights at Walmart supposed to be activated?
I think actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
What do we have anything else for Tech Stop before, or Joe, ACOG? Anything y'all wanna do to him, do it while you're here? We'll talk about you when you leave.
Be careful.
You have a plan up to 2014, but these are subject to changes too. Because let's say if you did it 3 years ago, you didn't know the oil field or oil Eagle Port was coming into this area. And all these changes have been made since they come in, is that correct?
Right, and so you can go in and you can revise, you can go through and revise the plan. Typically, like, you know, budget-wise, you know what you're letting allocate, you know, how much you're gonna let, you know, in these months, and so you wanna balance that out. You don't wanna just overload 2013 and 20, you know, and nothing in 14. So you'll try to work to balance out, you know, so it's, you have to have that plan. And when you wanna make revisions to it, you know, there is a process in place on getting to that, but you know, you can make revisions to it, take stuff out, but you have to justify it. And this type of stuff is, you know, justifiable. You know, we've had influx of the Proposition 12, you know, Proposition 14 funds that came in, and those were not in the plan originally, but we had 18 months to get them in the plan and get those projects out the door. So we did that, you know, and that's what we're anticipating with some of this energy sector funds potential.
And you know, initially, like the State Highway 123, the passing lane project in Karnes County, you know, we kind of pushed that back. I know last year we looked at it, we said, man, that's just not a priority right now in our area when we have pavements falling apart. You know, let's kind of push. It doesn't mean you necessarily lose that, you know, funding. You're just kind of saying, you know, we'd rather move something else up in its place for this year. Let's push that back a year. So we can kind of do that, you know, each year and look, okay, maybe it is time now to do our passing lane project. Maybe they've got the one up in the counties to the north and we need to do ours to continue, or the truck traffic or the traffic in general has increased.
Well, so I could say, we got one of these last year, and I think this has changed quite a bit from last year.
Oh, okay.
A lot of changes in it already.
I think they kind of do the same thing we do. They have their money in the budget, wherever the crisis is,
You have a lot of fires you put out.
And you may see some repeats if anyone really kind of looks at that. Like I said, our plan has changed so much that you know, we may have had it in a 4-year maintenance plan and then realized, you know, no, we need to do this. And we kind of have 2 separate pots of money, if you will. So you may see it kind of repeated, and that's only because it's just been such a moving target.
Anything else? We're done? Anybody? All right, well, guys, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us, appreciate it.
Adjourn.
Pete, help me.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.